Hi, welcome to the Bell Performance video blog. I'm Eric Bjornstad, and today we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of our favorite topics, politics and ethanol, or more specifically, the politics of ethanol gasoline. We're just going to run through kind of a brief history. Politics can be kind of boring, but ethanol is a political issue. Everybody thinks of it as a political issue. And so it's useful to kind of run down the history a little bit, see how exactly it got that way. Now, a lot of people know that Henry Ford made his Model T to run on ethanol and gasoline. Prohibition came along. They, for obvious reasons, stopped using ethanol. And it was really kind of an afterthought in the the 40s and the 50s and the 60s because gas was cheap. You really didn't need to do anything to gas. I mean, you could buy straight gas, pretty cheap. Nobody was worried. The gas price shockwaves of the 70s, people started looking, kind of rethinking the issue, and people started looking at ethanol as a blending agent for gasoline. And it was in the 70s that Congress established this precedent of giving subsidies to ethanol producers. Now, back then, there was really only one company that really was engaged in this, and I can't remember the name offhand. I want to say it was someone like either not Monsanto, but maybe ADM, Archer Daniels Midland, but whoever it was, they were really the primary beneficiaries of this because they were really the only ones making ethanol to go into fuel. So the whole environmental movement starts ramping up. Of course, after the 70s, gas prices went back down. People stopped worrying about it. Well, in the 90s and the 2000s come up, people are now worried about the environment. They pass the Renewable Fuels Standard. And Renewable Fuels Standard mandated by law that a certain amount of renewable fuels, of which ethanol is one, they had to have a certain amount of renewable fuel, i.e. ethanol, in the nation's gasoline supply. And what they projected is that by the year 2012, that's this year, they would have 8 billion gallons in the nation's fuel supply. Well, fast forward to 2012, and they're actually like at 12 or 13 billion gallons. So I guess they exceeded their expectations by a lot in that respect. Both sides of the political aisle, if you're looking for somebody to blame on for forcing the ethanol issue on consumers, really there's enough blame to go around on both sides. So you've got the famous flip-flop by Al Gore, who was really gung-ho about ethanol when he was a senator and a vice president. Then, a couple years ago, he comes out and says, no, ethanol is bad for the environment. And when pressed on the issue, he said, well, maybe I supported it when I was in politics because I had friends that would benefit. Gee, that made a lot of people happy. Certainly didn't restore any faith by the people in their politicians. But, you've got everyone from Hillary Clinton to John McCain. They both weighed in positively on the ethanol issue. So it's not an issue where one party is good and one party's bad necessarily. Everybody has been on the ethanol bandwagon before. So we have now, E15 has been approved by the EPA. So it's coming, just a matter of when. And now you have things like, an event that happened that we'll do a separate video blog on, but, legislation being passed through Congress that absolves ethanol producers of all liability when it comes to damage. That kind of thing is what really cements the ethanol issue as a political football for people. And, in a Congress that has its lowest approval ratings, in recorded history, probably lower approval ratings than, your local tax collector, people just kind of have to roll their eyes and say, well, there they go again, trying to control our lives. So, anyway, that's kind of a very brief overview of the politics of the ethanol issue. So thanks for joining us today on the Bell Performance video blog. I'm Eric Bjornstad, and we'll see you next time. Bye.